Well, hi, everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of Inside Furman Athletics. I am Dan Scott. It is great to be with you. Right here in the thick of football season, we're going to take a little pause, and we're going to talk some Furman basketball for the next 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, or actually a week from today, I guess technically, Bob Ritchie, the Paladins basketball coach, will be here joining us. But before then, we are going to spend some time, as we like to do from time to time, with one of Furman's excellent student athletes, and this is Ben Vander Wal, who is beginning his senior season as a member of the Furman basketball team. How you doing?
I'm great. Thanks for having me on here.
How fast have the first 3 years flown by?
Man, I've told multiple people that this feels like it wasn't that long ago. I was a freshman rolling up for my first preseason, and now I'm in my last preseason of college basketball. You know, freshman year, it feels like a long time ago at the same time, but it also feels like it was just yesterday.
All right, so the seniors, the year you were a freshman, were
Slauson, Bothwell, and Rhett.
Yeah, it just happened to be a pretty good team,
yeah,
right?
that was a fun squad. You know, Slauson and Bothwell, obviously year 5 for them, but
right.
Rhett back as our director of basketball operations now, and he and I are still very close, and I still talk to Mike and Slaw all the time too.
So now you are in their role.
It's crazy. Mike texted me a video a couple weeks ago from my official visit in August of 2021, and I looked like a little baby, and he was like, I was your age when I took this video of you, and now that's you. So kind of weird to think about that.
I was looking at your bio on the on FurmanPaladins.com, and you can go to the history, and they have all 4 of your pictures from freshman year to now. The only thing that's really different is the little growth you got going on.
Yeah, I got a little facial hair now. I look pretty similar to what I do my freshman year. It's just had to try to look a little older with some facial hair.
What's been, in your estimation, your individual single biggest area of growth from beginning your freshman year to here we are on the cusp of starting the games in your senior season? Where do you think you've grown the most?
You know, there's been a couple areas that I think I've really seen growth in myself. One of them being leadership, and I've always kind of been somebody who has had a little bit of leadership ability in them, but hasn't really known how to use it. And Coach Ritchie's made a really big emphasis over our 4 years to all of our players, the importance of leadership and growing leaders, and he talks about that all the time because it's an important thing for him. We have the Further the Man program. We want to build good men, good leaders, and Coach Ritchie really emphasizes that. And so I've really made an emphasis on trying to become a positive leader, somebody that people can come to with anything they need to talk about, anything they need advice on, anything they need to run by somebody who's been around it and seen it before. And I've seen some great leaders in my time. We talked about Mike already. Mike was one of the best leaders I've been around ever, and the way that he was able to rally a group and the way you were able to look up at him and emulate what he did, because he bled purple and he was somebody that wanted to win over anything, any personal accolade. And you obviously saw some success. He saw some success from that. So I think that's probably the biggest place that I've seen growth is just from constant, growth and leadership, I would say.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong. You won't have the same opportunity as he did, but he and Slaw both had the chance to come back for a 5th year. And in doing so, you got to benefit from that. And one of the seminal moments of everything that transpired with that magical March of 2023 was when Furman won the Southern Conference tournament, Mike going to the very spot on the floor where the year before David John Batiste hit that 35-foot running prayer in overtime to beat Furman and send them to the tournament. Mike was guarding him. Mike, the pictures are still burned in everybody's mind, him laying flat on his back with his hands over his head. He goes back to that same spot. But he gets there, and you guys get there as a team because of that kind of leadership.
Yeah, and I think, Coach Ritchie talked about that a lot last year, or a lot my freshman year, with stepping stone or stumbling block with that team from the year before I got here. Obviously being so close, about as close as you could get. And we feel last year we got about as close as you could get as well. And so we've had kind of similar talks this offseason about, are we going to use that pain from last year, up 4 with 2 minutes to go, as a stepping stone for this season or a stumbling block and we want to use this as a stepping stone. And one area that we know we need to improve at is on the defensive end, and that's been a big emphasis of camp. And that's something that we know, like, hey, if we want to get back to this tournament, we're gonna have to do it on the defensive side of the ball.
So when people hear the word leadership, sometimes they default to the vocal guy, the rah-rah guy, and all of that. That's fine if it's all legitimate and coming from the right place. I mean, you can be a vocal person and not be a leader,
Yep.
as we know. How do you define leadership?
I think leadership in my eyes is, you're a leader if you can look behind you and you've got people following you. And that's something that, sometimes you think you're leading and then you look behind you and you don't see anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And then that means you're not leading. And so that's something that I've really kind of taken to heart, because it's important, because as a senior, you want to be somebody that I know I followed my senior leaders. And Jalen Slauson took me under his wing as a freshman. I had no idea what I was doing out there. And I roomed with Jalen Slauson on the road, and he put his arm around me and helped me when things were going bad and rooted for me when things were going great. And it really was it was a way for me to, as a freshman, to see somebody with, he's obviously played in the NBA and got drafted, but he cared enough about a freshman coming in, scrawny little 200-pound freshman who just wanted to come help make a difference on a great team. And he was able to help me a lot. And so that's how I would say I would define leadership, is just by who's following you.
And knowing what I know about Jalen Slauson, everything that he did in that, taking you under his wing, wasn't all sunshines and rainbows.
No, I mean, it took some time. I mean, we my freshman year was crazy,
mm-hmm.
and it was something I'll be grateful for the rest of my life. But there were some hard days, and there's hard days for all freshmen. But
mm-hmm.
It was a pretty crazy experience, and one that I'm forever grateful for. And it made me into the person I am today, and helped me grow, and made me some lifelong friends, and got a ring from it too.
Yeah, just knowing his personality. Where I was going, though, I mean, as often as I'm sure you got a little, figuratively speaking, an arm around the shoulder, I'm sure you got a kick in the pants too.
Oh yeah, we definitely got at each other a little bit in practice. And my freshman year I was taking all those charges, so I'd take charges on Slaw in practice, and he'd get mad about that, and I'd mess with him and tell him I was only getting him better. And then the next year they got rid of charges in the NCAA basically, so had to change my game a little bit. But yeah, we Slaw's a fiery competitor, and he's somebody that I love Slaw, and I miss him, and every time I get to see him, I'm always grateful for that.
Ben Vander Wal joining us on this week's edition of Inside Furman Athletics. One of the things that I love about sports overall, and in this case we're talking about basketball, is that when we talk about impact players, we tend to look at the guys who score in bunches and can do all of those things, and they certainly are impact players. But what I love is that basketball lends itself to guys like you being impact players, even if you're not averaging 15, 18, 20 points a game. You led the team in rebounding last year at 5.5 rebounds. You're not the tallest guy on the team. The energy plays that Bob Ritchie talks about all the time, those are the ways that we've come to expect you to affect the game, keeping balls alive, doing things, taking charges, whether they're calling a bunch of them or not. It seems to me as if you have found a niche. And I'm sure you'd love to score 15, 18 points a game, but you have found ways to affect the game in a positive way outside of having to be the first or second leading scorer.
100%. I think, Coach Ritchie talks a lot of times about role acceptance and role clarity, and we talk about it, especially going into the season now. We're going to have to start defining roles for people, and players are going to have to start accepting roles. And that's one thing, like, I enjoy the role that I play and the impact that I'm able to have on games, even without scoring the ball. And, last year we had two unbelievable scorers in PJ and Nick, and it was so much fun dribbling into handoffs with them and getting in ball screens and chasing down offensive rebounds and looking for them to get them another shot. Because you know what? If I got Nick Anderson 2 shots on a possession, he's probably making one of them.
Yes.
I'm pretty certain if he misses the first one, he's shooting that second one with even more confidence. So it was fun to play with those guys, and I'm always looking for opportunities to grow and get better. But it's also like I want to maximize what the talent God's given me. I want to use my gifts, and there's certain gifts that I have that other people don't. There's certain gifts other people have that I don't. And, awareness is key.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something where I want to be confident in the gifts that God's given me. And I want to be able to go out there and play to the best of my ability and just try to go out and affect winning in everything I do.
So what part of your game have you been working on in the off season leading into this year?
Yeah, I know we've spent a lot of time working on, getting into ball screen actions, trying to get me in the short roll, be able to make plays out of that because, when we've got those spacers, we've got shooters out there, we've got some size, and we've got Coop down there. You get into 2-on-1s, get lobs up there for big Coop, get finishes, and just trying to get better at getting into back downs, getting into Barclays, getting into playmaking positions because, I want to be able to make plays and get guys shots and keep winning.
There was a point last season, we're talking about how that team ultimately gelled and made the run to the cusp of the NCAAs again. There was a point, I think it was early in the conference season, that the first couple of teams that we played really overplayed PJ and Nick to try to keep the ball out of their hands. And Bob and the staff decided, all right, we need to get a third shooter on the floor, so there was a change in the starting lineup. Eventually, the thought process went back to, we just need to get our best players on the floor and figure it out. And you ended up starting, I think, 30 of the 37 games last year. As all of that was developing and going on, what are you thinking? What are you feeling? And ultimately, obviously, everything worked out right.
Yeah, I mean, we as players have ultimate trust in our coaching staff. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm not sure there's a staff in the country that spends more time meeting in that meeting room than our staff. And Coach Ritchie does a great job. And our staff, last year lost a couple of our guys to different places, but we have another great staff this year. And we've got guys who spend hours and hours looking at what we need to get better at and how we need to win. And so, ultimately it's easy as a player to have trust in coaches. And, obviously you want to be out there and you want to be starting games, but that's the human condition, right? I mean, you want to do what's best for the team and you want to find ways to win games. And ultimately towards the end of the year, we just found out like, hey, we need to just stick with what works and we need to find ways to get our guys shots that need shots, and we need to ultimately play defense, which we started doing towards the end of the season. Once we kind of got out of that little rut, we started really sitting down and playing some defense until basically the last game of the season, and came about as close as you could come to making the NCAA tournament. So, it obviously is never easy to deal with those kind of things, right? We started off the season pretty great last year. It was pretty fun. Everything seemed like it was all sunshines and rainbows, and then a little adversity hit, and like any good team does, you got to persevere through a little adversity, and you got to push, and you got to adapt and overcome.
The old saying is that adversity doesn't build character; it reveals it. And over the course of a 31-game regular season, you're going to hit moments of adversity, and the way this team responded is pretty much the way we've come to expect a Furman basketball program to respond.
Absolutely. I mean, we talk about this all the time. We obviously don't want to lose, but if we're going to lose, we need to learn through our losing. And our team, my freshman year, did an unbelievable job of learning through losses. I mean, we had 3 conference losses, and every single one of them we learned something that helped us win in Asheville. And last year, through our first couple games, we didn't really know. When we started losing a couple games in conference, we didn't really learn great through those losses. And then once we had a couple, we got towards that kind of 4th, 5th conference loss, we were like, okay, we got to learn from this. And ultimately, we did learn from it. We made some changes. We adapted, and we started winning.
Visiting with Ben Vander Wal as we continue on this week's edition of Inside Furman Athletics. So, as the summer began, and now we've drifted into where practice has officially started, even though you've been practicing in the way the NCAA would allow you. If my count is correct, 6 new players on this team, Asa Thomas, the Clemson transfer, and then the 5 freshmen. Rebuilding chemistry, because every year, every locker room is different. How has that worked?
Yeah, we've really tried to, we've made a big emphasis on our connection, and we think our connection is our superpower. And obviously, with 6 new players, it's there's 6 players who have never experienced the Furman culture before, besides 2 or 3 days on their official visit. And I think the biggest thing is, for us, we want our players, we want our locker room to feel like a family. Mm-hmm. And families aren't always tapping each other on the back, telling them how good they are. but they're also not. They always have their best intent for their brothers in mind.
Right.
And so we've really made a lot of strides throughout the summer, and now in fall as we've gotten into full practice, like we're spending a lot of time together. We're over at the apartments hanging out, watching football games, and just doing whatever. And it's really just it's been fun to see the freshmen grow and to see them kind of come into their own as people as well as players. Obviously, a lot of our freshmen are playing very well, and it's been fun to watch them play in camp, but it's been fun to get to know them and to spend time with them and to go to the dining hall and eat lunch with them and sit in classes with them. And it's really been it's been a fun group. I mean, this is a group that, it's tight, but we compete, and there's a lot every practice. There's some brotherly love going on out there, but it's a great time.
Or if you want to borrow the Philadelphia Eagles things, probably a little brotherly shove.
Yeah,
too, right?
There's been a couple, but all in good fun.
All right, so finish this sentence. This basketball season will be a success if.
Ultimately, the goal is a SoCon championship, and we think if we defend at the level that we can, that we're capable of, that's going to be the whole key to this thing. We think we're going to have a good offense, and over Coach Ritchie's tenure, offense has stayed pretty consistent. The teams that win are the defensive teams, and so that's been a big key for us. But really, this will be a success if we can get a group that fully buys into playing the way that we like to play, and fully is engulfed in this fun of, hey, Timmons is opening back up. We're back on campus. I mean, the vibes should be about as high as they've ever been for Furman basketball, with the excitement with this new arena and the players. And, we've got freshmen who are all excited for kind of their first college experience. So I think if we do all those things, it's going to put us in a position to have a great season and to win a Southern Conference championship. And that's ultimately the goal that we all have our eyes set on.
You and I were in the concourse the day that they unveiled the new Timmons to the public. What has been your assessment of the redesign of the arena?
I mean, I would have been excited about anything now that we're back in the facility.
Yeah.
Like the 18 months of moving all over the place, we were very grateful for all the student center and the volleyball gym for letting us use their space, and to be able to play at the Well downtown. That was a unique experience, but man, it was a lot of just jumping around from gym to gym and the not knowing where you were practicing the next day because of gym time. So I'm grateful to be back in this space, but I mean, it is truly awesome in there, and it looks incredible, and the sight lines are awesome. I mean, I actually, my dad was here for Parents Weekend, and he and I took him on a little tour of Timmons, and he's out here. He's like, "There's not a bad seat in here." I'm like, "Yeah, I mean, every view is great," and it's really going to be a place that it's going to be at the top of the line in the Southern Conference for a venue, for an atmosphere. It's going to get loud in there. That flat ceiling's going to get it loud, and we're really excited to just be back in there. Less than 3 weeks until the Alabama game,
right,
which is pretty exciting and feels like it's kind of coming up quick.
Yeah.
And now we've gotten into full practice, but
I'm just getting into the swing of football season 5 games in, and now we're talking about a basketball game coming up at the end of this month.
About to start double dipping.
Yeah, no
about
kidding.
To start double dipping.
Life of a broadcaster. All right, before we wrap it up, let's have a little fun here.